David Stockman, a frequent guest on this program, who has in the past predicted a whopping great big market crash. David, welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah.
Says he with a smile on his face. Look, if I'd have taken your advice over the recent years when you were saying, here comes the crash, here comes the crash, I would have missed a whopping great big rally.
Yeah, and
are you still saying? Are you still saying?
Absolutely. By each and every day, the central banks of the world get more out of control. They're fueling a bubble, the likes of which we've never seen in modern times, if ever. The question that you asked me could have been posed in 2005. I would have said the central banks are out of control. Interest rates are 1%. The housing market is being fueled by easy money. I would have missed the next, the S&P 500 going from 1,200 to 1,550. A few months later, it was 660.
Okay.
So the point is, markets go up slowly 5, 6, 7 years until the bubble reaches an unsustainable point. All of this is driven by central banks, not the real economy of the world, which isn't doing that well. The bubbles finally break, and then there's a violent correction.
That's history. I got you. I got you. There's always cycles, there's always a crash.
It's the cycle.
But are you saying that the next crash is going to be so big, we're all in, we're just,
far bigger,
catastrophe. Right. Far bigger than the last one?
Of course, because all the central banks are now doing it to a degree that has never been seen before. Look at the Bank of Japan.
You call it printing money.
Printing money. The Bank of Japan last week indicated they're going to print money at what would be a $3 trillion annual rate in the U.S. economy, given our size. Their balance sheet is already at 50% of GDP. They're trashing the yen exchange rate.
So take me through, but you've got to take me through it. Everybody's printing money.
Yes.
What does that lead? Rampant inflation?
No, it leads it's going to lead to a race to the bottom. Already the yen is collapsing. It was 116 this morning. It's going to fall through 120. It's heading for 140. The economies of East Asia cannot compete with the yen at that level. They're all going to have to devalue. South Korea, China. As they devalue, there will be a tidal wave of deflation spreading around the globe. Corporate profits are going to be nailed.
All right, okay. What do I do? What do I do?
I think you get out of harm's way, because these...
how do I do that?
You sell your stock, you sell your bonds, you get into cash, you put your head down and wait for the storm
$100
to
bills?
hit. Yeah, because the dollar is the one thing in the world that's going to go up as we get into this currency war and this race to the bottom. It's going to be which shirt is the cleanest in the dirty laundry, where all of the central banks are taking their currency.
What do you do with somebody who's got a couple of $1 million? They're not going to get a couple of $1 million in paper money. They're not going to do that.
Well, the point is they can speculate if they would like. They're adults. They obviously know what they're doing. The point, though, is we have never been here before. You've never seen a bank, central bank like ours, with the interest rates at 0 for 71 months. You've never seen people in central banks like in Japan saying 2% inflation, hell or high water, we will trash the currency, we will buy 100% of the debt being created by the government of Japan.
Never seen it. You've got to tell me, when is this going to happen?
No one could predict it. If you would have asked me in the spring of 2007 or the fall of 2007 when the market peaked, when's it going to happen? No one would have known. Suddenly, they said, where did Lehman Brothers come from? Where did CDOs come from? Where did CDO squares come from? What was the CDS, credit default swaps, about? Where were all of these derivatives when we were, in high clover a year or two earlier?
So you can't tell me when. You think,
no, but I do think it's around. I think it is nearby, because we've gone to a step change in the desperate effort of central banks.
See, I have a huge problem interviewing super bears, because you can always be bearish, because there is always going to be a crash that happens at some point.
Well, you can always be bullish too if you believe the central banks have your back, they know what they're doing, and they can keep the bubble going. I think the central banks are incompetent. I think they're being run today by madmen. Kuroda is a certifiable madman who's running the Bank of Japan.
That was the soundbite of the day. That was the sound. All right, David, look, it's intriguing stuff, and you make a good case. I'm just not sure that I'm prepared to go to the mattresses with my money.
Okay.
David Stockman, everyone. Good stuff. We appreciate you being with us.